Race 1 of the weekend. Final weekend of action in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. Sprint Cup. Lights are red, lights go green. We are racing in Spain, and it's Patrick Cuellar who makes a good start as Lucas Auer gets up the inside of Maxi Götz on the inside line. He needs to get ahead of all the other Mercedes. He needs to be ahead in that pro class, and he's going to do so, although they're 3 wide. Look, and coming right round the outside is Cesar Gazzo's car. Aurelian Panis at the wheel of it on the wet tyres, and he's managed to get the race lead, and that was really brave. Others run out wide, and there's drama in the background. I think a couple of cars have come to grief into turn 1, and we may well end up here with a safety car period because we've got contact in the background, and so the leaders turn their way up now out of turn 3. There's certainly been contact at the back of the pack. The safety car is being deployed, and the race leader on wet tyres looks like being Aurelian Panis.
Yes, I mean, tippy toes if you're on slicks, more confidence if you're on the wet weather tyre, and that was an example. Cesar Gazzo was able to drive all the way down the outside, main straight coming into turn 1, went around the outside of the other Mercedes and the Lamborghini to take the lead, and that was the benefit, the advantage. How long that's going to last for, we don't know, but there is our race leader. But everybody will gradually, because there'll be a safety car deployed after this full course yellow. It is a safety car deployed now.
So there's been an incident at turn 1. You may have seen it in the background, there were cars stranded, but that's the reason for the safety car. So it's those on wets, by the look of it, that have made the progress up the order. So looking to second place, it is there Jonathan Hui in the Sky Tempesta Ferrari. Sorry, Eddie Cheever at the wheel of it. Ben Green in third place. The safety car will scoop them up at the end of the lap. But yes, you can see how far back, as an example, Lucas Auer has dropped, and that's because certainly at the moment the wet tyres have got the advantage. So needing to be careful on the greasy road short term, not good for those on slicks. This is what Mark Lemmer was saying to Patrick Cuellar on the radio. The road will come back to you. So as soon as the warmth is in the slicks, then it is okay, but the first couple of laps will be a bit sketchy whilst the temperature comes in. Drivers out of cars are trying to work out who we've lost out of all of that. One looks like Dylan Pereira. But they're all okay after that incident. Medical team there making sure the drivers are okay. Dylan Pereira is the one without the crash helmet. And might be Reece Barr, the other man, walking away. I think it is. Dylan Pereira and Reece Barr. Now, we are behind the safety car, and the team's looking on at this. I'll go back to my point about temperature. Whilst the cars are running at this slow speed, of course, there's not much warmth getting into the slicks, so the wets prolong the advantage, and it's going to be, by the look of it, a lap or 2 down at turn 1. You can see a very badly damaged Audi there, which is on the outside of the road. Dylan Pereira safe and sound out of the car, but a big hit by the look of it.
Yeah, and it's sort of a familiar story. Those at the tail of the field are charging, and those at the front of the field are tippy-toeing around, especially if they're on slicks, and there's just that concertina effect. It looked like there was a bit of a fluid spillage on the outside of turn 1 that was being cleared up by the marshals as well. So it might take a few laps for that situation to be fully rectified and for this race to get back under green flag conditions. As you point out, David, everybody's running around a little more than 80 kilometers per hour. Tire temperature, tire pressure, as usual story, they'll drop away, and the question is, once this race gets back underway, how much change will there have been in track conditions? Forget about tire pressures, tire temperatures. Will the track be that much better than it was when this race got underway just a lap ago? So the drivers working their way down now through turn 5. The brains trusts in the pit bunkers, looking at all of the data and looking at the, probably not so much, well, there aren't any lap times really to look at the minute. They're probably more concerned with weather radars and working out how quickly the road might dry, when they might need to bring the car in. If you're on wets, can you get it to the pit window? Well, at the moment, with the slow speed and the lack of warmth in the tyre, you probably could. Yes, you could do. I think the calculation's being made right now by those teams that started on the wet tyre. But the probability, I think it's marginal. I mean, we're just 8 minutes into this race. And the earliest that anybody could come in would be another sort of 17 minutes. That's when the pit lane window will open. And that's going to be the equivalent of about 8-9 laps, probably about 9 laps in these conditions, maybe 10 laps if you're able to push a little bit harder. I don't think the wet weather tyre would sustain, particularly on a racetrack, which we know is a very tough tyre circuit. And the compound that a wet weather tyre is made of is generally a much softer compound than that of a conventional dry weather slick.
So these are slow laps and all eating into the available time within this stint. So I can't see it being immediate that we go back racing. The order is Aurelian Panis, the leader, silver. Eddie Cheever, second, bronze. Ben Green, third, pro. Maxi Gertz, fourth, pro. Sven Muller, fifth, pro. Sixth, bronze. Patrick Kuyler, the pole man's down to sixth. Seventh, Louis Pret, bronze. Eighth, Ricardo Feller, pro. And down to ninth, Lucas Auer. Now, where is the championship rival? 16th. So Van Thor has gained a couple of places, whereas Lucas Auer has gone backwards. Trying to see what we have on the number 32 BMW. Trying to work out what tyres it's on. Right, let's try and piece together what happened at the start. So have a look at the back. It's where Dylan Pereira's Audi, Reese Barr's Mercedes are. So Barr clips an Audi, comes across the road, more contact there. Audi bang into the wall, big impact, and then as we look at the race leaders, they then sort of slide their way down towards turn one, but that's where the initial contact came.
Yes, I mean, normally it happens later coming into the corner, but that was just contact between two cars, both moving around. I don't know which tyre those two driver pairings had opted to run on, but anyway, once the contact was made, the grip has just vanished. The car then went from left over to the right, and both cars, particularly the Mercedes, seem to have a heavy contact with the barrier.
So the rain has most definitely arrived, and it is raining very heavily.
Another element of the circuit here is it is essentially, so the number 10 is coming in, the Aurelian Panis is coming in to make his stop. One of the characters of the circuit is fundamentally it's a low grip circuit.
Yeah.
So if it's low grip in the dry, it's not going to be a lot grippier with these wet conditions.
Right, the bulk of the field that didn't pit first time around, pit now. So number 9, that answers why they hung it out for so long, because they have now been able to be first in and take over the lead of the race. So that's going to put number 9, Jules Gounon, into the lead as everybody else ahead comes into change. So that was the reason for hanging it out. The heavy rain sort of coincided with the opening of the window and the fact that he was forced in because the car was undrivable, but it's worked out beautifully for number 9 Mercedes now to lead.
Yes, and remember Maximilian Gertz did his stint on slick tyres, and he managed to stay on track until that ultimate turn 10, turn 11, when he ran wide. He got back on track going through turn 13. But I mean, as you say, it's turned out to be the decision of the race to date.
Well, Jules Gounon said on the grid, we're going to split the strategy on the cars, one on wets and one on slicks. Well, not entirely sure you would have anticipated a slick-shod car to effectively jump into the lead in the rain, but that's almost what they did.
48 is in, Lucas Auer's out of the car, Maro Engel's in it, but whereabouts is the 32? It's down, showing in 20th position right now.
Yeah, Charles Witz has taken over from Dries Van Thor.
There is the 48 joining, just going to jump in between the Audi and the Aston Martin. So Maro Engel behind the wheel. Maro Engel just having...
ahead of 32.
Yes, ahead.
So the Mercedes has jumped ahead on the pit stop.
So that pit stop originally put the BMW ahead of the 48. Now, as a consequence of circumstance, it's the 48 ahead of the 32. Charles Weerts behind the wheel of the WRT BMW. Maro Engel behind the wheel of the 48-man Mercedes. Maro Engel, of course, just coming away from a visit to the Nürburgring where he drove the Mercedes AMG 1, whatever it is, that supercar. He did a record lap for a production car of 6 minutes, 29.9 seconds. Thought you'd like to know that.
Oh, thank you very much. So the lights are still on the safety car. I'm not entirely sure the safety car has done a driver change, so that might breach a regulation because it's,
I hope they put enough fuel in the tank.
Exactly. It's the one car that hasn't had to really worry about pitting. It's been out there for so long, so the safety car crew, and it will be in at the end of this lap. We are going to go racing then. It'll be about 5 minutes and a bit. So we are going to go racing, hooray, and it's going to be fascinating now. I suspect part of it's going to be about trying to overtake, but the other element is going to be about survival. So here they come. Jules Gounon leads the way, but you've got to get to the end now after such a strange race, in quotes. 5.5 minutes we are looking at now as the cars come towards turn 14, so 2-3 racing laps. That's going to be it as we are set ready to go.
He's gone. Jules Gounon backed the pack up, and then he nailed it, stood in the throttle coming through the exit of turn 13 out of through 14. there is the area where people are going to be struggling now as the speeds pick up. So some drivers going out to the right of the circuit as they come down into turn 1 to try and keep the wet weather tyre in the wettest part of the racetrack.
And the battle is on to see their 48 Mercedes and their 32 BMW's final finishing positions. 3 wide coming down towards turn 1, but they've all survived at the front of the queue. Number 96, Patrick Niederhauser in the Porsche, is on his toes. Konstantin Lapalainen under attack because there, look, Maro Engel, he's another Nürburgring wet weather expert, pushing his way through the pack. But Jules Gounon leads the way, and look at the gap he's built. Niederhauser up into second place in the Porsche.
Yeah, not surprised. Porsche rear-wheel drive, but also the engine hanging out of the back of the car, or relatively so. But Niederhauser seized an opportunity, and yeah, did a great job. So 48 climbs through and up into that third place. It's climbed itself up into BMW. Charles Viet not managing as, let's say, as confidently as those ahead of him to make ground.
But that was a Mercedes being passed by Mercedes. And I wonder whether, if Maro Engel can get past Niederhauser, whether Jules Gounon will be asked to help his Mercedes stablemate.
I think the clock might have run out of time. It's only 4 minutes to go. You're talking about in these conditions, you're doing last laps. Well, of course, they're all under safety car, but probably these laps are around about 1 minute 58 to 2 minutes. So probably 2 laps to go. Down the inside, Niederhauser. Oh, look what's happened.
Engel in the gravel, championship leader off the road. Come on, Maro, dig yourself out. He's back on the circuit, and he's still ahead of the BMW. Maro Engel, big send on the inside, and it nearly bit him.
Yeah, I mean, that was optimistic to think he was going to get through. He had all done, but just there was a lack of grip. And once he ran wide and got onto that green stuff, which I talked about earlier, it's like a skating rink.
So BMW 32, oh so nearly, was able to get back ahead of the Mercedes. Maro Engel survives, but Patrick Niederhauser then chases after Jules Gounon. So it is Mercedes AMG from Porsche as they come across the line. Engel's on his toes again, still charging. 3 seconds between Gounon and Niederhauser, and 3 minutes are on the clock as down towards turn 1. I made the point a lap or so ago about survival, and Maro Engel oh so nearly didn't. He's got himself back ahead of Gachet there.
Yes, indeed. And I don't think Simon Gachet was going to make a massive deal out of it. He's in a different class compared to the 48 Mercedes, and what Maro Engel is trying to do is get as far forward before the checkered flag comes out to give himself that bolster in terms of points between the 48 Mercedes and the 32. So as they came across the line, they were running 6th and 7th respectively. So Maro Engel wants to get another couple of places, which he thinks he might be able to do, but there's Lapalainen directly ahead of him in 4th place in the Ferrari.
So right now, Gounon leading from Niederhauser, and Gounon has done the fastest lap of the race. As you look there at Charles Weerts, this year's Intercontinental GT champion, coming through, and he's under attack. Now, what's going to happen to him in terms of losing places maybe? If he gets shuffled back in Pro, that's going to help the Mercedes drivers going into tomorrow's showdown. That Audi that has gone through is gold. It's the Gold Cup leading car, so that doesn't affect points. It's in a different class. But what is significant is that the BMW is going backwards, not forwards, with 2 minutes to go.
So Charles Weerts literally hanging on by the skin of his teeth. He just does not seem to have the level of bite or grip that the 48 Mercedes Maro Engel has got available to him. So the Audi runs wide and tippy toes. So Luca Enslinger, it's a different category to the 32 BMW, but it's indicative. And again, Maro Engel, he's on it all past the Ferrari, now up literally on the tail.
And that's significant because that Ferrari is in the same class. So Engel is now moving further ahead, not only in the racetrack, but also in terms of points over 32 BMW, and all of this is significant. Over the line he goes. Now the next car that Engel will have to negotiate, number 10, is not in the same category. We're on the last lap. There's less than a lap time left in the race, so Engel might only end up 3rd in his class. I don't think he's going to get onto terms with Niederhauser, but look, he is on the attack, and round the outside he finds more grip.
Yeah, I mean, again, I wonder how much of that was down to literally the grip on the circuit or just the genius behind the wheel of Maro Engel in the 48. Jules Gounon normally would have challenged that overtake. In this instance, it might have been seen to be the correct thing to think about doing. Again, look, Gachet was having to go quite aggressive defensive to stop the Ferrari running now in 3rd place, Lapalainen, from taking that 2nd place away from the Ferrari.
Indeed so. So Jules Gounon looks like he's on for a win, but Maro Engel is doing purple sectors, in other words, lapping quicker than anybody else. There is Consta Lappalainen, the Scandinavian driver, right on the back of Cesar Gazo, who is leading in silver. Leading gold is Gachet. Leading bronze is Miguel Ramos now, who's taken over from Louis Pret. And the lead gap 3 seconds. There, number 30. That is now Callum Williams to the back of the grid into 16th place. But the race leader, soon to become race winner, Jules Gounon and Maxi Goetz, persevering on the slicks to the pit window. Well, it's all played out beautifully. It was worth trying to survive. They got the lead, and Jules Gounon is going to bring it home. Niederhauser is still on the attack. And there, the Sky Tempesta Ferrari, then it's lost its Bronze Cup lead. It's down to second. It might be third in a minute because that Porsche of Dustin Blattner up the inside is in the same category. So Dustin Blattner trying to gain track position as Jules Gounon comes up to win one of the most bizarre races we've had in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup history. To the line he comes, and Jules Gounon and Maxi Goetz take honours in the first event of the weekend. It's a very happy Maxi Goetz. It's a happy Jules Gounon, no doubt, because it's been a tough season as Boutsen have adapted to a new brand. Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Muller take second. Engel third, and the fastest lap on the last lap of the race. Consta Lappalainen fourth, and that off into the gravel in the Bronze Cup is Jonathan Hui, and that could well spell disaster for their championship hopes.
Yes, indeed. Stuck at the exit of turn 10 into turn 11. And still a battle coming through the final turn, turn 14. The 991 BMW down long behind the wheel.
So this the result after 21 laps, largely, sad to say, under caution. Maxi Goetz and Jules Gounon the winners from Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser, then Lucas Auer and Maro Engel third. Green and Lappalainen fourth, silver winning fifth, Panis and Gazo, a gold winning sixth, Legeray and Gachet, and Pret and Ramos take bronze, and they're 18th. Team representative thought about getting in on the act and then thought better of it. Champagne spray, Jules Gounon attacks Maro Engel. They've been teammates, they've been rivals, but they're all part of that Mercedes AMG family. Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser for the Rutronic Racing team. Yet again, shame that the Porsche was oh so close to a win.